Greetings. It is my pleasure to be here on a Tuesday night with an amazing podcast planned. We who have been in IQMK Global since its inception, since its US based inception, realize that one of the most powerful benefits of a steady diet of superfoods like the muscadine grape, antioxidants in general, one of the things that it does is that it brings to us an incredible resilience. The past 3 years has been a time of great global need for stress modulation, for resilience, to keep ourselves stable and to keep ourselves positive and hopeful in the face of much pessimism, literally disease, and literally ongoing losses. I chose personally the topic of this show because I have been so inspired by a group of people around me who, no matter what the cost, are native born, unpaid caregivers. I know literally hundreds of nurses personally, and they really do embody a caregiver's vocation. But it is their vocation. It is a choice of career as well as spirit. The people that I'd like to talk about tonight are the close to 50 million US citizens alone that are caring for a loved one, a family member, a parent, or a spouse each and every day, regardless of the circumstances of their lives, the communities they live in, or the world in general. Tonight, our topic is: how do we keep ourselves vibrant, vital, and healthy in the face of that type of caregiving? So I'm going to bring on my muscadine partner, the founder, the chief executive of IQMK Global, of MusNatural, and that is Mike. Mike, greetings. How are you tonight?
Good evening to you and our partner in US, Canada, Mexico. I'm happy to be here. I am currently in Quezon City in Philippines. So I'm really it's an honor to be with you, Tanya.
Yes, it is. And Mike, I know that you, even more than me, are surrounded by people who are just natural caregivers and then not so natural caregivers. You'll probably get calls every single day from people who are at the end of their ropes, caring for people in chronic pain with late stage cancers. I'd love for you to maybe help me introduce our next guest, but first, talk a little bit about your perspective on caregiving. And I know you've done a good bit of caregiving personally. Give us an introduction to the topic.
Thank you very much. Actually, this is a great subject, and I'm glad that you brought this subject to the table because, especially Philippine and Filipino, they're really one of the top people that they actually do that all over the world. And there we have so many nurses and so many schools that they have in Philippines just teaching how to take care of other people. And we know as being parent and having kids and having parents before of us, we learn how to take care of people. It's very important. In fact, in Philippines, there are not many take care homes of take care of people. Most of the taking care of the parents and people are at their home, at the family. So I'm very familiar with this. It's very important that when these people taking care of them is their family, they consider their family. When I'm in this kind of environment and community working with people, I look at each one of them is part of my family. It's just extended family, and that goes that the caring for this kind of people or this environment, it become very personal to me. I know it's the same thing to you. Even a stranger we meet or we want to take care of, we first we look at that person as becoming a family of us. Then they take taking care of them. So
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
a powerful thing for sure. I mean, the idea of, we have this obligation to care for our spouses as they age, to care for certainly our parents. Um, but, there are people, and certainly the people that I have met with you, Mike, with IQM Global around the world, IQMK Global, it really is this heart sense of we've got to care for people. And it's not just, hey, let's make sure everyone is eating healthy and taking muscadine and antioxidants, but let's really make sure the quality of their life is good, that they have friends, that they feel seen and listened to. And yeah, it's a lot of work and it's exhausting. And you're one of my idols, one of my heroes in how I know that this business of health is your business. I know that you've invested lifetimes of savings into a startup company that's new motto, right? And I love it, is a global movement of health and hope. And but I also have seen you with tears in your eyes when you hear news of natural disasters. I've seen you, move into that caregiver mode for total strangers that you meet that talk about, a sibling they're caring for with cancer. I'm remembering some things, and you really do feel that. But at the same time, you're very healthy. And you care for your entire family. Your entire family is on your shoulders. I've watched that through the years too, Mike. But at the same time, you have found a way to be a beautiful, healthy human being. And I think that's really what I'm after here tonight. What are those things that you can tell people that are out there professionally caregiving for people, but also just in their own homes, sitting at the end of the day saying, oh my God, I didn't even have time to go to the bathroom today because the person I'm caregiving is just in so much distress. What is your advice? How do you do it, Mike?
I've been blessed through my life with good job, good family. Everything was very good for me, and I retired about 12, 15 years ago, and I took over the world for a year or so, then come back to get to a point that this is not my life. My life is something that I can share and contribute and help other people. I mean, we all need to have a legacy after we leave. And so I started not just with the company, but with going to Mexico, helping the people in Mexico and other countries. And then I said, well, one person cannot help a lot of people. And that's the vision of this company, that we are, is not just one person anymore. We're gathering all the good people with good heart to a company that feel that this is their company, and each one of us can contribute more to the world, helping people. Again, it comes back to caring about people like your family. And if you have that in your mind and your heart, that everybody is your family, this world is only one world, is not a different countries, not different, is not, there is no border. If we look at that, there's all family together, we can really make a big difference collectively, all of us together in this world. And that's my vision. I teach people, I coach people. I don't sell any product. In fact, I educate people. We're not in a business of selling product. We are in business of really taking care of the people and telling them and educate them and sharing our own story. I mean, last night we had a meeting, and one of the lady came to me and kind of very private note that she said that she may have breast cancer. And my whole things, meeting, everything put aside and just talk to her. Yeah, that happened to my wife. First, comfort her that not to worry about it, and things can be done that you don't have to worry about it. And we gave her extract last night before she leaves, and also told her what are the things. One of the things is when taking care of people, you need to really keep them calm. That there are options, there are alternative, and most important, there is hope that you get better. There is hope that you feel back like you were before, or maybe even better. So that hope and that encouragement that they get back, like this lady was just, it's like the life is over just hearing a news. But I said, no, life is actually is the beginning. Not that you're going to help yourself heal, you're going to help other people who have the same condition and help other people. So every disaster can become a way to help other people. And I've seen it all over. When people, it's like I tell everybody, you really don't value your health till you get sick. And that's the wrong way to look at it. And I know people that I met and they're millionaire or billionaire. When they don't do anything for people, but as soon as they get on the wheelchair, they start thinking about people. Why do we do that? Why do we change the oil in our car when they say you need to change it at 5,000 miles, but we don't really take care of ourselves? And that's the vision. And I know you have the same vision. That's why we're working very good together, because our vision to tell people today you need to take care of yourself. Today you don't eat good, you don't breathe good. Yeah, you take a shower, you put have a cup of chlorine in your body, but you need to have something to fight all this toxic that comes to your body and to your mind too. You have to be positive. There's a lot of negativity going in this world, everything bad, but no, we can make the good out of the bad. Again, I'm really excited because I know you came back and we are forcing all the good people, and I love the guest that you have today. I really admire her, and I'm looking forward to sit back and listen to her, because she can contribute more than I can. So it is about caring about other people, and that can come not just for your own family. Consider everybody as your family. Tanya, you know, you're my sister. You become one of my other sister. So I feel about that the same thing about people that I meet. But thank you very much. I know the time is valuable. I want to hear Pam, because she is not just talented, she has experience, and she can really lighten people with her experience and knowledge in the business. Thank you very much for giving me a couple of minutes. I really
No,
appreciate
of
it. And
course,
keep
of
up
course.
the great work. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. All right. I am going to, you're here, so stay there, Mike, but I'm going to, in just a moment, bring in our guest. Um, I love the quote that Mike gave us. Calm is the foundation for healing. And it's also the best caregivers are able to stay calm. And it really is the condition for hope. And we know that hope is in many scientifically demonstrated moments really how we heal, how we cure everything from dementia to cancer to depression to neurological diseases. But calm is really a word that segues me into the introduction of our guest tonight, Pam Rollins. Pam, I've known for over 10 years, and I've always watched Pam as one of the most successful executives that I've known. She was a chief executive, not a chief executive officer, but a senior executive for one of the largest private jet aviation and transport companies in the country, out of Miami. And I watched her with this huge company with so many crazy pilots and and leadership, and I watched her always stay calm even when she had a, metaphoric gun to her head. And I just admired that because I was one that always kind of attracted drama and gave into it and would be very fired up by situations. Or on the opposite, turn in on myself and be very, very negative. So Pam professionally was a mentor. And then, of course, in recent years, after her retirement, which was, the company was sold and it was not the same place for her. And at the same time, her husband started having some more significant healthcare needs. She retired and I watched her. And man, my love and admiration for this woman will never stop. Over the past, particularly 4 years, and certainly post COVID, this woman has cared for not just her husband, but for anyone that's seriously wounded, emotionally, financially, physically. How she does it. And I still walk into her home, and my little 11-year-old and 7-year-old want to go to Miss Pam's house as if it's a playground. And it's not. She doesn't even have a toy. What she has is an energy in her home that just makes you glad to be alive, and it brings you hope naturally. But at the same time, I've seen a Pam say, Tanya, I can't do it anymore. I can't. It's so much. What about me? Where am I in all this? You're my sister friend. I love you. And at those moments, I remember being a caregiver for my own father and how difficult those last few months were. So difficult, in fact, that in one of his hospitalizations, he was had no oxygen. He had a late stage COPD, approaching 90, and would get very violent and very mean, very disrespectful. So I went into the hospital one day, and his pulmonologist greeted me as I was coming in from work. Of course, I went every day after work, and said to me, you know what DNR means on his door, don't you, Tanya? And I said, oh, yes, I do, doctor. We made that decision. And he looked at me, yes, do not resuscitate. That doesn't mean do not suffocate. Because there were days that honestly, people did not want to go into that room, including his own daughter. So with that story, I'm going to bring Pam to the screen. Pam, ta-da! Caregiver of the century.
Oh, wow.
Personal gift of calm and comfort. Welcome.
Hi, you're giving me way, way, way too much credit. That's for sure.
Nah, that's also a part of it, right? That's also a part of just, being a good caregiver is not being a hero, because that would just be too exhausting. But let's talk about you. You don't have to get into the details of anything, husband's illness, people around you. But I want you to tell me, what is the best thing for you about being who you are as a caregiver, day in, day out? What's the most positive thing that you've learned about yourself?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I don't know that I've ever really given it that much thought. I've always had a credo. First of all, let me back up a little bit. So I was blessed to be born into a very large Italian family, of course. So even as a small child, my family modeled taking care of everyone, because that's what we did. I mean, we took care of everybody. Family, strangers, didn't really matter. So from an early age, it was modeled. And my grandfather was a pastor as well. That helped quite a bit. And then, as I grew into a working professional career, and grew up and evolved, my personal credo just was live by the golden rule, treat everybody the way you want to be treated. I thought about what how I want to be treated. And even in management, it didn't really matter. I mean, your people are your company. They're humans. They're no different than you are. Didn't matter if you were talking to, if I was having a meeting with an ambassador from a country or somebody else, it didn't really matter. They're human beings. They all have lives. They all have stories. They have everything. So what I've always really tried to do is treat people the way I want to be treated, and try and find out and learn, research and learn, because in order to stay calm and be in that calm state, as Mike talks about, you have to come from a position of knowledge, because otherwise you'd be frightened yourself, right? You just enter the chaos. And the worst thing that could happen in any situation when there's chaos is to have someone who isn't calm and who isn't actually trying to sort out what's really going on, what's controllable, what's not controllable, what can you do or not do. So I really try and kind of sort of look at the big picture in every situation and try and figure out, what's the best way forward for whoever's involved in the situation.
And I just want to stop you there, because I think we should really underscore that knowledge and learning cuts through chaos and does create calm. And, just my own personal experience, when things are overwhelming for me professionally, or, I can't make the right decisions financially, you'll just sit down and say, let's really think about this. Let's research what you have, where you came from, what you can do, and let's get to a point. And that really does help. And when we're in the midst of caring for people who are very sick, screaming in pain, and I know you know this well, the very first reaction is, back, like you just mirror what you're fed. But you've developed this discipline of slowing down and learning something that helps. That's amazing.
There's always a solution to everything, really, for the most part. I mean, yes, there are things that are tragic and formidable that you can't do anything about. But for the most part, if you really just look at the big picture and you research and you get the facts, and you don't take no for an answer in terms of chronic illness, you must be not only your own advocate, but whoever you're caring for's advocate. And you can't just look at one thing in particular. You can't just look at Western medicine. You have to look at other things that might make a difference to the situation. What resources do you have? What works? Tanya said I don't have to talk about anything personal, but my husband did just end up coming home from a 64-day stay in the hospital.
64 days, everyone. Most people don't come out alive unless they have a caregiver and an advocate like Pam. So I just want to.
Yes, I spent 14, 16-hour days and some overnights there. And honestly, when we came back, when he left the hospital, he was not voiding on his own. So the doctor said that he would stay that way permanently. And I'm like, well, this can't be true. This can't be my life. And it certainly can't be his life, because, I was it. So I called my acupuncturist and I said, there must be some Chinese protocol for this. I cannot accept this as my life. And she says, there is. And she came to the house and she treated him. I paid her to come to my house. She came to the house. She treated him 3 days in a row. And my husband's perfectly normal today. Perfectly normal.
And it's because you didn't take a situation as the only solution.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not.
It's funny. I was reading something today about the death, and the reason why is that the subject really, it said the death of complementary medicine. And it said it has to die because there's no such thing as complementary medicine. There's only integrated medicine of all the knowledge we know all around the world to benefit that single person at the precise moment that they need it most. I know many of us that are on today are real advocates of what we would call nutritional therapy, whether it is, healthy eating, plant-based diets, intermittent fasting, and of course, the harmony of muscadine grape and the product MusNatural. I know you have a couple of stories as a caregiver with your husband,
Mhm.
Roy, and also with a family
Myself.
member, lots of people. But
Yep.
can you share some of those product-based stories? Because, one of the things I want to say, and I say this with, I don't want to come off as, like this great salesperson or something, but the one thing I can say is that MusNatural has kept me as a caregiver for two young children, as a caregiver for many friends who are really flopping and flailing about a bit in the world. It gives you this kind of modulated spirit and a healthy, non-inflamed. I always say, talk about chaos. Chaos is inflammation. Antioxidants reduce inflammation. So for me, that's a really big deal. Talk to us a little bit about your experience with the muscadine antioxidant in caring for people that are chronically ill.
Well, let me start with myself really quick.
Oh,
And
please.
that is, I mean, thank goodness you introduced me to MusNatural. That's all I have to say. I had sciatica and bursitis for 2 years, and I did physical therapy, I did acupuncture, I did massage therapy, I did everything. And I'm telling you, I didn't sleep at night. I was in pain, moving, and it was really starting to fatigue me. It was wearing me out. And I ran into Tanya. We hadn't talked in a while, and she told me about the MusNatural, and I started taking it. And I have to tell you, I'm completely pain free.
How long did it take? Like for me, because it was the same thing. I had the lumbar disc. It took like 3 weeks, but I think it was maybe a little longer for you, no?
I think it was probably a good solid 4 months. And, of course, I ramped up larger doses initially, but because I was in a lot of pain and I wasn't sleeping and nothing was working right. So I'd say at probably the end of 4 months, I was really perfectly fine. And I also had, besides COVID, other things that affected me hormonally, and my hair was falling out. And
I
I mean,
remember that. I
I
remember
was
seeing it
freaking
for the
out.
first time.
I tried PRP, I tried everything. Nothing was working. And my hair stopped falling out and my sciatica and bursitis got completely better. So I'm like, there's something to this. And of course, my husband, who has had chronic pain for over 40 years, and he's had cancer twice, colon cancer twice. I put him on the product. His hematologist told him to keep taking it because his hemoglobin was never higher than 8.6 the entire time he's been treating him since 2008. And on this product, it went up to 15.1.
That's just awesome because that's what it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. And, it's also, I think, it helps with blood pressure. It helps with stress. It helps with sleeping. And my cousin is going through lung cancer. And, when he was diagnosed early on, before he even started his treatment, I shipped him bottles of the tincture, actually, uh, thanks to Mike. He was kind enough to let me do that. And he has been on it and he has just breezed through his treatment.
That's
Uh, two,
praises, really.
Two of his tumors are gone. He went through chemotherapy and now he's in immunotherapy, and he is doing well. A lot of times during the process, your body, it takes such a toll on your body. You have to stop sometimes because your white count goes down, everything goes down. You can't take your treatment. He's not experienced that at all on this product. And he ran out recently, and his liver enzymes went crazy and he had to miss his immunotherapy for the first time. So fortunately, Mike's got some tincture on the way to him. And I know he'll get back on track. It's made a huge difference for him. It really has.
It's funny how many times, as everyone, that's close to me and close to IQMK knows that it was the year was very hard. And, although I never stopped ever taking it, because if I did, I think I told everybody the story. I was on a cruise and I had forgotten a bottle to take with me, and there's no place you could get muscadine, on this cruise ship. Day 3, I couldn't walk up the steps. I was like, how can this freaking be? I'm like at the gym, I'm fine, and then all of a sudden I can't move. And I came back, kind of like aching. And it took about 4 days of, 8 to 10 of those pills a day just to get it, flowing through the blood. And it was gone. The inflammation, was released, and I was able to walk. So, these stories, and I don't want people to think that, we're making like weird, crazy claims. They're just based on anti-inflammation, antioxidation, increased blood flow. So when you hear about people's hair growing back, when you hear about doing really well in hemoglobin, that's just healthier blood. And the healthiest blood is the birthright of youth. And as we age, we start, you get those labs back and they say, well, if you're 50 to 60, this low amount is okay. It's not necessary. There's loss is not an inevitable part of aging, just like, chronic disease doesn't have to be what it is. So Pam, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing that. That's very powerful. I know Mike is very emotional right now because we need to stay motivational. I know that many of you have seen these awful images out of Syria and Turkey. And I'm like, oh my God, how do you stay? It's cold. There's death everywhere. There's children without parents. There's children alive waiting for this rubble to be taken off of them. And you say, this world is just too much for me to be a caregiver in. And so one of the things I really want to talk about, besides amazing therapy, which is called food, like muscadine grapes, like plant-based diets, like not putting toxins in your body, like getting rid of everything in your home that comes in a box that has a bunch of ingredients on the side or a can or any of those things. And just for a minute say, I love what Mike said. How do I contribute to this world? How do I contribute to this world? Pam, every day you wake up and you contribute amazing to your family. There's just no way around it. You inspire me. You made me a better grandma, mommy to these two kids, just watching you. And part of it is calm. Part of it, there's always a solution. There's never room for chaos. Chaos is not constructive in your health or in your life. However, how do we combat chaos? So let me turn to you again, Pam, and say, what are your coping tools to combat chaos?
Well, I have my spirituality. I pray. I read a lot. And I research a lot too. And I take care of myself physically as much as I can. I don't really exercise the way I used to, and I don't move as much as I used to, and I should. But if I enjoy, I will take that moment with my friends, and taking the time. I reach out to family members. I make sure that I stay in touch with pretty much all my family, and that brings me joy to be part of their life and to help them along the way in their life. So, and friends, friends and family, I do stay connected with people. So not staying connected with people, praying, trying to eat good, taking the right supplements, listening to music. I do enjoy music and reading. There's all kinds of things that you can do. That's stuff like that. Sometimes I'll just put on a good movie, that I want to see because maybe I want to laugh. Because laughter is good medicine. You have to laugh every day. You can't take life too serious.
And food. You are like the best cook. Like,
I do cook.
It's crazy. I go to her house to work. We're planning a whole lot of work. Yay, in 2023 with MusNatural and getting the word out and getting it in spas and doctors' offices. So we're working and working. And all of a sudden, she said, oh, I just got a little snack. And that little snack is this charcuterie, this tray of healthy foods. There's no meats there. There's olives and cheeses and almonds. And you just get healthier being near that kind of food. And I will always be grateful. And to learn to do that is remarkable.
Well, you have to do whatever feeds your soul. You know, everybody, we're all different, really. But you have to figure out what feeds your soul. You
Hmm.
know, I had someone tell me sometime in the business world that if you can't manage yourself, how can you expect to manage people?
Yeah.
Might sound strange, but if you really, really think about it, it's true, you
Hmm.
know? So for myself, I probably do neglect myself to a larger degree because I'm always focused on everybody else. But, you know, I do take time, like I said, to pray, to read, to listen to music, to watch a movie, speak to friends and family and catch up with them and laugh with them and cry with them if that's what it takes. It
Hmm.
doesn't really matter. And just, you know, just live life. You have to live life.
And I want us to get real because, I shared with you the fact that there were times that suffocation was considered in how difficult my father was. And I have very close friends that, in many ways I don't want to say blessed, but I lost my parents early because they were quite older when I was born. My mother was nearly 50 and my father was almost 18 years older. So I was a late in life child. So I lost my parents early, mostly to cigarettes. But I, I remember there's just dark moments. There's just such dark moments. I mean, even in the last days of caring for my best friend with liver cancer, you almost lose your faith. You almost just don't want to go on because it doesn't seem that God is possible even. And I don't want anybody for a moment to think I have Pam on here because she's like an angel and she's perfect, because she has her dark moments, and I'm going to put her on the spot to talk about what those feel like and when they descend, why you think they descend, and how do you how do you conquer?
I have moments where I sit and I cry. Sure. I'm human. I mean, there's times where things are just overwhelming because you don't know what to do next, um, especially when you're in a critical situation, or you're in a situation where your family member really is in the final stages and they're going to pass and you're going to miss them and you're going to be lonely and you grieve. Grief is
You
all
were
part.
a caregiver for your mother into her
Yeah,
last days. Yeah.
my mom, my sister-in-laws, my mother-in-law, yeah, quite a few family members. You know, I've had to care for, and it's hard. There's no getting over that. I mean, um, there's times where I get mad at God too. You know, you have that conversation, but it's a form of release if you allow yourself to grieve, to do things like that, to cry, to grieve, and just have your moment, and then you move on. We all have to have our moment because we all need a release. Or maybe it's picking up the phone and talking to one of your best friends, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because you just need an outlet to take a moment in time to get through the emotion, and then pick yourself up and move on, because that's really who you are. But you're human as well. I mean, you have to take those moments. Nobody's that insulated, or they don't have a soul. You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, it happens. It's all part of the life process. We all go through it.
I was before we started this podcast, I was going over some of the statistics with you. That 1 in 4 Americans is an unpaid caregiver, and that's going to be important in just a moment. Pam, you are deservedly blessed that you had an amazing job, that your husband had decent wages, and
Yes.
you can afford a massage. You can afford to get a nurse to come in once in a while so that you can take a shower. I mean, there were days like that for you.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot of people that can't make their light bill and are primary caregivers, right? And so we're talking about 1 in 4 Americans being an unpaid caregiver of somebody who needs live in care. That's the definition. So you have to live with them in order for them to survive. And of those, 90% of it is family. I have another friend. Her name is Joy, and if she's listening, I want to give her the respect that she needs. She is herself in her 50s, but is a caregiver unpaid to lots of women around her that don't have children or children who don't care. And she just spent 2 months of her life with a friend, in and out of hospitals, working on some gastric chronic disease issues. I watch her, and she is not economically sound. And I say, oh my God, like these people are sacred. They're really sacred weapons of God on this earth. But there are so many challenges. And to really, what I really like what you're doing, Pam, is helping us to say, I don't think there's any way about it's only going to get worse. And it's even crazier because there's going to be like 60% old people to 40% young people.
Yeah,
So
the world is aging.
it's
a real problem because people are not having children.
And
and the cycle is you get old and your kids take care of you, hopefully.
Hopefully, that's the other issue, right? The culture, you're right.
Or you make sure, or you try and make sure you have some sort of a village, whether that's through friendship, whether that's through, some form of your church group. I can tell you that, and I have an amazing church family that, steps in and makes sure that we're okay and reaches out and does wonderful things for us. They did when my husband first came home from the hospital, they sent meals for 2 weeks, just to help me out. So, and there are other things available, not enough, certainly, resources from the government and local communities, but there's a lot of charitable people in this world that will help one another. And that's just it. We all have to be a family, and we all have to serve and help and love one another regardless.
Yeah. And faith is something that is extraordinarily important, whether you're Christian or Buddhist or Muslim, or even I've seen some really strong atheists get a whole lot of spirit when they start caring for somebody who's really sick. Because if you don't, it just is sheer unadulterated pain and loss. And there's only so much of that the human body can take. I really want to focus just for a moment on that whole expression of, hey, the plane has lost its oxygen. You have a child next to you, or an elder parent, or an elder. It doesn't help you to be dizzy and stupid and put their mask on first. It's really always about making sure you have the balance and you have the wherewithal to care for others. And you started with some pointers, and I want to continue that because we don't have a whole lot of time. And I want to make sure that there are people. I just got 4 texts saying, preach to you and to me, right? How do we get through this? And you started, right? So let's kind of review. Faith is important. Creative outlets. You talked about music, you talked about cooking, reading. I've been doing more and more writing, which I haven't done since like college and grad school, right? To find kind of creative places for you to rise above, changing osteo bags. If that's, I was a caregiver for a young man after he was shot. And that was like, oh my God, to see a young person with with a wound like that, right? Just horrible, horrible. But having said that, when you're dealing with that reality, that mortality, that, I'm sorry, guys, it's often just gross. You can't believe this is a human body.
Yeah.
You have to go for the beauty, right? You have to go for some of that creativity, some of that. So creative outlets. We are talking about healthy diet. supplementation.
Yes.
Some of the people that I know, everyone knows Dr. Alba. Well, Dr. Alba is a close friend of Pam's too. And she's a caregiver, and she was a caregiver for her father. She's a caregiver for her mom. And she herself was pinned by two semis, has had dozens of surgeries and issues, but she goes through all that. And faith is a big outlet, but so is healthcare. Holistic, integrated healthcare.
Massages are great.
Massages are fantastic. And part of the reason why, right, is that they do some of the same things that we're talking about antioxidants doing, right? It releases, constricting chemicals in the body so that the inflammation is able to dissipate, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what other things can we do physically? Take MusNatural. Oh, I like this, Mike. We are all going through very difficult times or situations. Make a plan. While you don't know what is going to happen in the future, you can always plan ahead. And planning, right? Planning helps you succeed. From someone who used to weigh 340 pounds, it wasn't until I learned to plan for healthy food, not to diet, but to plan for healthy food and to plan maybe when I wanted to snack, was I able to start gaining control. Plan for exercise, plan for food intake. What am I going to eat? The planning does make the success happen, right? And so, Mike, I think you're absolutely right. Planning through this kind of painful situation. Okay, you know what? If everything goes well, at about 11 o'clock, I'm going to have time to paint or color, or it's amazing how many coloring books for adults are in the grocery store these days. Has anybody else noticed that? Like, since when? It used to be something bizarre.
For many of us too, we have animals. I used to. I had dogs, and they're a huge release.
Well, you still have the cutest little dog ever.
We do in the house, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, my own dog, yeah. But animals are great too, if you can afford to take care of them. They're a release. They really are. They help. I mean, look how many animals go into hospitals and help people, and nursing homes, So it's also a great outlet, for someone. It's even someone who's alone.
I'm writing something here because of what you just said. The word release is so important. And this is a big part of pain control, right? We all learned this over and over again from Dr. Alba Rodriguez and from Dr. Ramon Nunez. And that is, all pain comes from stress and constriction. Again, we can say this also with chronic disease. All pain and all disease come from stress and constriction.
Yes.
And if you can learn through massage, through movement, through cooking, through sex, through dancing, through whatever it is, to release that constriction and stress in your body, that is truly a pathway to health. And you, as a caregiver, and I'm speaking to everyone, as Mike just said it, no, you're not alone, right? Everyone in this world has low points. And so many of us in the United States, it's 1 in 4, but I bet you in the Philippines, it's 1 in 2 that are caring for someone in their family that have, pretty serious issues. You need to be able to cultivate calm, modulate stress. And the way we do that is through diet, through taking the right supplements like muscadine. It's through movement to be able to release this tension and the constriction in the muscles. And it's also through integrated health therapies, things like massage, things like acupuncture, and then allopathic. In some ways, things like, pharmaceuticals for depression help people who are ready to take their own lives at least get some kind of balance back. It's not shameful to need drugs or chemotherapy or pharma. It's just when it's not working that it's shameful that we don't look at this myriad of other possibilities. I'm going to bring Mike back on, if you don't mind, Pam, because he has some thoughts. Mike, let me get you up here. There you are, sir. What have you been thinking about? I know you've been writing a lot. I can't keep up with you, but yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about the tough question that you asked Pam, uh, and I'm telling myself if she would have asked me that, I'd be so emotional. I can't even handle it because it's really very difficult when you go to people life inside and there's so much pain on everybody. It's not just Pam. Everybody has it might not be the same, but everybody has some kind of pain, disappointment, discouragement. But we all have to look at the positive things of everything. And I was so happy to hear from Pam that the husband is doing very well. You see, that was always my thought. I hope this product works the way I think it should work. I hope this is going to help him, help her. And everybody that I get involved, as I said, it's become my extended family. And I really care that things work for everyone. The thing is, I want to say a couple of things that things, difficult time is there, as you talk about the disaster going on around the globally. But we all have to have something to express, including ourselves. We shouldn't be afraid to ask for help. A neighbor, a family member, a person can help you. It doesn't have to be all the time with medicine or MusNatural, but it could be just emotionally help you. That way he talk or she talk about her own thing. We need to have a feel the feeling or feel for feeling. That's very important. We need to feel other people. And then we also have to, all of us have to accept support. We shouldn't say that we know all of us. No, we don't know. We learn every day from each other. I can accept support all the time because I know that support is just emotionally is really can help me to go further and where I am. And we always have to look at to help others. And also in my business, in this business, I also tell everybody to think big. Always think big because if you don't, then you don't accomplish even a small stuff. And then the most important part of everything in the life is positive mindset. The unfortunately through all of our life, no matter where you were born, there has been so many no in our mind. Negative. You can't do that. You can't go there. You can't. That is what happened to all of the people in this world. That their mind has a lot of negative stuff in it. We need to bring positive mindset so we can conquer our own feeling, our own disappointment, our own negative thinking. So positive mindset is the key for all of us to survive and get better on the difficulty that we go through. Again, thank you very much for Pam to share really great stuff for us. It's very important. Pam also a role model for many women out there. So I'm glad that you have Pam today. Appreciate for being on Pam. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it. And you know that no thing, that's one of the first words we're taught as children. Remember when we're babies and we go to do something we shouldn't and we're told no?
And you know what's funny? Pediatrician gauges intellectual development.
Yeah.
Does your child understand no? It should be the opposite. Does your child understand yes? Go for it. That's powerful. If anything else, we just should dwell on that for the rest of the night. But I also wanted to point out one thing. Mike, you talked about support. And, to me, I always come down to metaphor and poetry in life. And the one thing about Pam is her generosity. And it could be as simple as a prepared frozen meal that she gives me on my way out the door, or a bottle of some kind of wonderful new supplement that she just wants me to try, or a book that changes my life. It's something. And when I get in my car, I feel like a better human being for having been around Pam's generosity. That is the nature of being a healer, a caregiver, a friend, a leader. And as I think about you, Mike, and anybody that comes in touch with Mike leaves with handfuls of muscadine, with cups and mugs and shirts and everything possible. And that generosity, that somebody believes in what he's giving you because he believes in your health and your improvement, is really the reason I am glad to still be alive in this world, having been challenged by cancer, having been almost murdered, having all kinds of things almost take me out. But it's those moments that I witnessed generosity with no expectations in return that make me realize what it is to be a good human being. And if those of you that are listening have no idea what IQMK Global is and why I'm doing this podcast under that, one is because I'm promoting a product that has cleared off my sink of about 40 other products. And
Amen.
it works, right? It's an anti-inflammatory, it's a modulator of stress. But more importantly, working with this group of people has shown me that helping others is the only way to help yourself. And caregiving is the topic of our conversation tonight. And I have nothing but great admiration for Pam, but she's also one of the most eloquent speakers, even though she tells me I am. And I'm going to let her close this out tonight. And I'm going to let her make a prayer wish for everybody that has people in their lives that they're worried about. And Pam, you're going to give us all a little bit of advice. And I will take us off the air. And I know many of you are saying, how do I see this? Again, it will be up. I want to remind you that we have a website. It's called Global Muscadine. I'm going to put that up. I mean, a YouTube site, Global Muscadine. Muscadine Global.
IQMK Global.
Well, there's two. Muscadine Global has of these podcasts, and then there is IQMK Global YouTubes, and you can grab them there. But you can also just go to the social media platform that you're on right now, whether it's Facebook, whether it's LinkedIn, and you can please listen again, share this with people that might be undergoing huge amounts of caregiver stress or just need a healing message. So with that, Mike and I are going to turn over this big muscadine grape screen over to beautiful friend, IQMK partner, and amazing healer and caregiver, Pam.
Well, thank you both very much. And thank you, Tanya, for your generous comments. Of course, she's always giving everybody else accolades, but she's one of the best humans that I've ever met in my entire life. And she's a generous human as well. And we all know Mike is as well. I wish nothing but success and happiness for everybody and good health. But to do that, you have to take responsibility for yourself before you can take responsibility for others. Have faith in yourself. Become educated. Learn what it takes to take care of yourself. Don't give up. There's always an answer. Don't feed into the chaos. Be calm. We talked about that tonight. It's not as hard as you think. Reach out. to a friend, to another family member. If you need some help, it's okay. You're human. We're all human. We can't do everything ourselves, as Mike even told everybody. So be successful. If you're caring for somebody else, you're not alone. There's plenty of resources out there. And this too will pass. It's all part of your journey, and it's all part of their journey. Just become educated, become informed, and look for the right answers, and they will come. And I hope that all of you have some form of faith that you can also turn to, because it'll give you a lot of comfort. And thanks for inviting me to the podcast. I appreciate it. Good night.